I just want to make a quick announcement before Brian will introduce our kind of summary person, Deborah Gans. But one of the things that those of us who were moderating and organizing talked about at lunch was how to let this have an afterlife. And one of the decisions is that we're going to make a website that will basically be the repository of the information. It'll have the live stream that's been going on. It'll have the individual presentations and the text that go with it, which we're going to be collecting, and it will have the action points. This will have an afterlife. One of the things that is important for us is to also have contact with everybody here. So for those of you who were presenters, we have your emails, we know how to contact you. For those of you who went on to Eventbrite and registered, we know how to contact you. If there's anybody here whose email we don't have through one of those two things, please go to Eventbrite and register, even though it's afterwards. It's just the mechanism by which we can stay in touch with you. One of the things that I also want to encourage you is that anyone here who feels passionate that something get across here that maybe didn't accurately get reflected here, or things that you think about after this that you think are important, we're going to put the action items. Again, we're gonna put them up and then give them to the presenters to make sure that it reflects what they think. So if you want to contact one of us or one of the presenters with your new thoughts or your more accurate thoughts or your more focused thoughts, so that when it does go up on the website, that still is happening. So this will be a process of a few months that we can actually summarize and get accurate and disseminate. So anyway, the big point here is that there's been so much said here, and there's so much great knowledge, and we want to make sure that's preserved and put forward into the future. So thank you. Anyway, Brian?
Thank you, Peggy. And again, it's been a pleasure to work with you on this project. It's been amazing. And also, now that Rosalie's here, I want to acknowledge the inauguration of this in partnership with the Architecture League last year. I have the great pleasure of ending this exhausting marathon by introducing the architect with the most energy in the world, my dear friend Deborah Gans. We know Deborah is an accomplished academic, author, teacher of many decades at Pratt, but I just wanted to speak about Gans Studio, because Gans Studio the studio's projects include architecture, industrial design, community-based urban planning. So many of the things we've talked about the past 2 days are completely exemplified by her practice. Of course, the awards are innumerable: the publications, Architectural Record, New York Times, International, recent fellow of the American Institute of Architects, great mom. It's also the work that combines planning, architecture, and industrial design was developed at Gans Studio in emergency responsiveness and homelessness. And so there's an incredible example of how architecture can embrace all those scales. And maybe you learned a little bit from Le Corbusier, maybe you learned a little bit. Well, I'm coming to that. Maybe it was the hardware shop and Dad. but I just think we couldn't have a better academic, intellectual, friend, consummate professional than Deborah Gans. But I have to say in conclusion that it's a personal pleasure, because not only did Deborah and I get ourselves through graduate school together, but we really started practicing together. And so I think we taught each other how not to be gentlemen architects. So, Deborah Gans, here you are.
Brian, Brian taught me everything I know, including he made us do a set of working drawings in ink on Mylar. It's the only good set of working drawings I ever did in my life. Okay. My computer seems to, and this has been an amazing conference. There's no way I can do it justice. This is going to be short. I mean, if you all had to do Petra Kucha, so do I. That's all I got to say. So thank you to the organizers of this conference, Brian, Peggy, Ioana?
She broke her leg.
Yeah, who I still haven't met, yeah. And all the wonderful speakers that have engaged us in a process that's simultaneous, intimate self-reflection, also critical contemplation of the world. And I'm not sure that I've ever had quite that experience, that simultaneous intimacy, self-reflection, and this contemplation of the world. It's been amazing. For those of you who have not been here for the duration, I cannot summarize every discussion, but it is continuously unfolded in such an organic manner, negotiating similarly among fact, lived experience, and critical thought. We started with the facts. The 77 cents on the dollar that women make, thank you, Karen, then zoomed out to its causality within the larger socio-political struggle as we observed how in this late capitalist neoliberal period, we have an almost social Darwinism at work. And actually, Darwin was much bigger on collaboration than social Darwinists. He was, he should, origin of the species. Why share the pie if you don't have to? Increasing divisions between rich and poor, a fragile net of social services, and a fabricated scarcity of resources, fabricated in that it is often created by an economy of speculation like the one that just raised real estate prices in the East New York. These all bring concomitant decrease in social mobility. Thank you, Suzanne. These exacerbated disadvantages of the already disadvantaged, those of the 77 cents, keeps them down, out of the professions, beyond the reach of spatial equity and of design. We have lost something so important when these women privileged, and our feminism is not just a means for our own liberation, but it is also our responsibility to others, without which, of course, our own liberation will remain incomplete. When it comes to anything less objectifiable than 33 cents on a dollar, everything gets even more thorny and personal, so I'll read this next paragraph using I. Did I not get the job because I am a woman, or because I am not a good designer, or because my portfolio is not quite architecture? Or did I get the interview for the job I ultimately did not get because I am an Ivy League educated white person who didn't really deserve that job to begin with? Or is it just that I am not ambitious or authoritative, two things I would really like to but can no longer blame on my mother? I am a bad feminist, as Roxane Gay would say, because I am constrained by culture in ways I do not want to confront, privileged in ways I want to deny, and simply because I am a particular human being. But enough neurotic discourse, as Peggy and Brian would say, and on to courses of action. Academia as a feminist space offers us the possibilities to confront these facts and lived experiences in ways I really could not have imagined before this conference. And this thoughtful feminist space then leads into practice. Academia as a feminist space is our political space. It allows us, it actually requires us to lobby and negotiate and argue for it and within it across disciplines and departments and up hierarchies. Hell, academia is often also a really big corporation with a lot of money, power, and influence, albeit its own glass ceilings. Hell, we should use it. Academia as a feminist space is a network of other thinkers and practitioners. It is our club. Academia as a feminist space is also networked and engaged at the level of knowledge and how it is produced and shared. It makes the studio space porous to other disciplines and methodologies. It is a space where we empower the next generation. Thank you, Victoria, although she doesn't like the word empower. And this very much includes giving them the competencies and tools, thank you Mark and Ngali, that lead to licensure and the ability to negotiate competitive workplace and be at the center of the disciplinary practice. Thank you, Deborah. Not me, Deborah, another one. It is also a place to incubate the alternatives. And that way, academia is a safe place, a garden of incompatible and also alternative modalities in which you can imagine different practices, take on different voices, role play rather than self-replicate. Thank you, Katya. That was her keynote. Academia is finally, academia is a feminist/critical place, meaning a place where we can and should exercise feminist criticality. Thank you, Peggy and Harriet. It can question old histories and how they are written and entrenched normalities like studio juries, emergent patriarchies like digital tyranny. Thank you, Alyssa, Heidi, Maya, Catherine. Also, this feminist criticality, this voice of otherness brings with it a great empathy, an empathy for the otherness of others, races, class, genders. I think this empathic capability is a great power, and power for change, because of its reach out to diverse and also uncommon subjects, clients, actors, collaborators in architecture. It has certainly been very important to me in my community-based design with my students. It helps us see beyond elite cultural practice and those designers born into that cultural capital, and men suffer from this elitism as well, as Hillary says. This critical feminist empathy allows us to see where we might grow our architectural gardens of new modalities in the world and who will help us water them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was not easy, and that was so beautiful, and it's very inspiring. Let me just take this chance to thank everybody who was here. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank the presenters, and I really want to thank the moderators who did a lot of work and maybe didn't realize when they agreed to do this what was actually involved. But it's been fabulous, and Carla for being the scribe. That also has been particularly. But across the board, you've all made this be the 2 days that it is, and thanks go to you. Thank you.